Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. Today's episode is starting off over at the flower farm, but we're not going to spend too much time here. Just wanted to recap exactly the amount of flowers I've gotten out of this thing after just a very, very small amount of use. It's pretty ace. We've managed to get ourselves a couple of poppies, so it looks like a couple of poppies are spawning within this radius as well. But just look at the cornflowers, look at the lily of the valley. It's so great to be able to farm these new flowers and have those available to us. Not to mention the fact that I managed to get myself a few Nautilus shells from that wandering trader, and we've got a few materials to take back home as well. So, without further ado, and because I've only got 6 fireworks, I am going to try and make my way home with as little resources as possible. I'm going to fly off in this direction, and I'll see you guys back there, because today we're going to be playing with fire. Or more precisely, with explosives. There is going to be a little bit of fire involved, but today I want to take a look at TNT. And TNT is something that I don't have in huge supply, but I should have a little bit in the chest over here. We got 36, so just over half a stack. We'll probably make a little bit more of it, but first I need to put away all these flowers. Alright, welcome back. So, to get ourselves some TNT, we are going to need 4 stacks of sand and 5 stacks of gunpowder, which I think we should have lying around somewhere. Let me check over at the mob farm. Yep, looks like we got a little bit more than 5 stacks. Excellent stuff. I will grab some of that. We'll probably grab half a stack or so for some more fireworks as well, because I'm down to my last one, although I've got plenty in my ender chest. There we go. Feels a little bit better now we've got hold of some fireworks again. So in order to craft TNT, you need to open up your crafting interface and put gunpowder at the 4 corners and in the middle, like so, and then sand all the way around the outside. You can also make TNT with red sand, although I wouldn't advise it unless you're getting that red sand renewably somehow, like from a wandering trader, for example. And we all know wandering traders don't trade a great deal of those resources, but red sand is a lot less common than regular sand, so I think the regular stuff is probably better for that. Anyway, let's grab ourselves some TNT. We've got a stack here to add to. I think I also have one in my redstone box. And for our next trick, we will need a bow with flame, which apparently I do not have. So let's grab a fresh bow. I haven't got it on my regular bow because I don't like lighting mobs on fire all of the time. Let's see if we can get flame out of the enchantment table. In fact, I'm pretty certain I had a couple of flame books lying around, but I might have disenchanted them recently. There doesn't seem to be any around here. And let's see if we get ourselves flame on a bow. Infinity. Okay, I'll keep that one in reserve then. Any more chances of flame, though? At last, we have flame, and just flame, and nothing but the flame. I guess we could probably enchant this with the power infinity as well. Let's see, enchantment cost 4. That's probably good enough. Can't believe I had to come all the way out to my guardian farm to get a flame bow when I've had no shortage of flame enchantments in the past. Just never thought I would actually need one. But before we talk about why exactly I've got a flame bow, we need to talk about TNT and explain why we're looking at TNT in particular today. Because while we've used TNT in the past, in Minecraft 1.14, it has just become a lot more useful. To explain, TNT used to blow up a bunch of blocks, and then it used to actually destroy some of those blocks in the process of the explosion. Take this little patch of ground here, for example. If I was to set off some TNT in a previous update, it would not drop all of the blocks that were required to fill the explosion hole back in. Now, on the other hand, thanks to community suggestions, TNT actually drops as many blocks as it blows up. It's a 100% drop rate now, meaning that if we use all of the same blocks, we can fill this hole back in, and it's like nothing has ever happened. Except the fact that it's all dirt, of course. And this actually means that TNT is going to be a useful thing to use in, for example, tree farming. Although in the case of this tree, I'm going to shoot it from a distance. Now let's talk about the ways in which we can light TNT. I've just demonstrated being able to light it with a flint and steel. It can also be activated by redstone current or with a bow enchanted by flame, because you see the flame on the arrow actually ignites the TNT. Now when I go and collect the drops from this tree, I actually get 4 oak logs from that because this tree was made up of 4 logs in the process. And TNT has now become a fantastic way of setting up an automatic tree farm. And before the comments come in, yes, I'm aware that there were TNT-powered tree farms before. There are a couple of very famous examples from recent times, and they all relied on very precise redstone timing. So it wasn't just the kind of thing that the average player could really set up without watching a lengthy tutorial and making sure that they had every single redstone repeater tuned to exact, precise timings. Nowadays, with 1.14 improving the drop rate of these TNT blocks, it is actually a lot easier to set up a TNT-powered tree farm. Not only that, but TNT is now much more viable as a resource mining tool, provided that you are careful with it. Because, of course, if, say, you put down a TNT block and you blow it up right here and now, it's going to drop 100% of the blocks that it blows up. However, if you drop another piece of TNT on top of that, all of these little item entities that are hanging around on the ground here, that is not my flint and steel, there we go, all of these little item entities have a chance to get caught in the blast radius and blow up. And now, it is highly likely that some of those have been destroyed by the explosion, and we won't be able to fill back in this hole using the amount of cobblestone that it's just dropped. In fact, yeah, I can already see that that's not going to be enough. So if you want to claim every single block that is blown up by a piece of TNT, you will need to be very precise in how you use it. And there are a few provisos to take into account when using TNT in quantities like this. For example, if we place some TNT here, and don't worry, it's not going to be affected by that flame arrow. If we place a piece of TNT here and we place one there, for example, there are two air blocks in between those two, and as we just saw in that last demonstration, that is a short enough gap for each piece of TNT to set off the subsequent one, causing a chain reaction. However, if we place this TNT block down one block, so it's kind of down one level and it's protected by the blocks around it, does that still cause the same chain reaction? There we go. It actually skips over that TNT block there, but it actually managed to hit the TNT block over here. So a wider radius of the explosion will actually trigger a blast from an adjacent piece of TNT. It's just quite a radius there, and what just hit me? That was weird. Apparently I got affected by that TNT explosion over here, but it pushed me in a different direction. I didn't get shot by an arrow, did I? But anyway, my point here is that TNT doesn't always transfer its explosion through blocks like stone particularly easily, meaning that you can't always set off an easy chain reaction whilst you're underground caving. There's another example. It's exposed this piece of TNT, but it hasn't actually lit it. It hasn't primed the next piece of TNT to explode. So when you're using this for mining, for example, if you want to gather all the blocks from a TNT explosion, it's going to take a little bit more than just placing TNT a couple of blocks apart. But if you want to have a little bit of fun with TNT, just placing it all out in the open like this and watching it chain react is quite fun. You'll also probably have noticed that there's a bit of an irregularity in how quickly TNT explodes once it's primed, and that is by design. TNT is actually meant to be a little bit volatile, and when set off by another piece of TNT, it can explode almost immediately. There can be milliseconds of time to react to it before it goes off. So bear that in mind. Make sure that you have adequate space away from the TNT before you blow it up, because you might not have time to react to a chain reaction. By the way, if any of you guys are wondering if creeper explosions are affected by the same 100% drop rate, trust me, they're not. There we go, got 12 blocks of dirt back from that. Definitely not enough to fill in this creeper hole. It's definitely not the same. Creepers still destroy the same amount of blocks they did before. Likewise, end crystals and other explosions will still destroy exactly the same amount of blocks they have previously. The only thing that has been affected by this change in drop rate is TNT, because it's one of the most easy substances to control in terms of explosions. Speaking of control, by the way, if you light TNT and it falls into water, or it's surrounded by water like this, even flowing water, it will still affect you. The explosion will still, like, knock you a little bit, but it doesn't actually do any damage to the environment. And this can be as small as in a 1x1 hole. Then again, let's see what happens if we put a water source block on top of the TNT and light it. The water flows down into the hole. Boom. Absolutely nothing happens. This is still a 1x2 hole. Of course, once the TNT is primed, it becomes an entity and allows the water to flow down and occupy that block, meaning that you can light TNT in as small a space as a 1x1 hole as long as it's 2 blocks deep and there's water on top of it, and you'll have absolutely no problems. Then again, you can't rely on TNT to drop into a 1x1 gap like this, even if it is placed directly above the hole and you're relying on gravity for it to fall in, because the problem with that is TNT actually moves a fraction of a block over when it is lit, like so. So you'll see it's resting on the edge of that block there instead of actually dropping into the hole below it. But it still drops every single block that it exploded, so that's fine. It should also be noted, and in fact I'm pretty sure I did note it in the episode where we did 101 questions about Minecraft, that TNT fired from a dispenser. If you power a dispenser with redstone, it automatically lights. So you end up being able to blow up not just the blocks around it, but also the dispenser if you end up doing that. But luckily now the dispenser is no longer at risk of being destroyed because the TNT is going to drop every single block it breaks, including your dispenser. Another fantastic thing about primed TNT being an entity is that it becomes pushable by things like slime blocks. It can actually be launched in the same way we've demonstrated in the past with things like armor stands and even dropped item entities. So what we can do by lighting this and then quickly pressing this button is guarantee that the TNT gets launched down there. And in fact, this is actually a quite efficient way of using TNT to blow stuff up, because while the TNT is moving and while it is a certain distance away from the wall, it actually has a higher likelihood of blowing some stuff up. It's weird, there's some maths involved. It's the kind of thing that you would find explained better by some of the people on the Psycraft server, but you'll find that if you launch TNT at a wall, it ends up destroying more blocks than it does if you just have it placed against the wall. It's weird, but trust me, it works. And where the chain reactions can be kind of unpredictable, the fuse length of player-lit TNT is always the same. So you can actually be quite precise with the timing and use that as a reliable mechanic in order to get the best results if you're smart with it, which personally right now, I'm not. But I'm learning, and I think what we're going to do next week at some point is set up a TNT-powered tree farm. But for the moment, I think it's probably time to revisit the quarrying time-lapse that we originally recorded here, only now it's going to be a little bit more explosive. Well, there's one more advantage I've learned about having a 100% drop rate from TNT now, is that if you blow up a TNT cannon you're trying to make, or a TNT launcher, then at least you get all of the materials back. Because I don't know how easy it was to spot in that time lapse, but I definitely had a couple of failed attempts, a couple of successful attempts too. Launching TNT is a lot of fun, but does require a little bit more precision and a little bit more artful setup than I was really allowing for it. And I definitely didn't get all of the blocks from this, was definitely being a little bit cavalier with the TNT here and there. Let's chuck out this poppy. I'm not sure why I've even got poppies at this point. And let's chuck out this stone button and grab some of the cobblestone. But still, we definitely got more blocks than we would have before, I think. I went around and collected them pretty regularly, and it's nice to have explosives like this to blow out sort of natural looking pits like this. If you feel like, you know, making a more natural looking cave, using TNT for that can be quite a useful thing. And a lot of the time it's just fun. It was a lot of fun just making that time lapse. I'm fairly certain it was more fun than it was when I initially just dug everything out by hand. So we will return to TNT, and I think next week we're going to look into how TNT can be used to automate more farms, as I was mentioning earlier, tree farms, potentially even farms for cobblestone and stuff as well. But that is going to be all for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you enjoyed this little primer about TNT, and I hope you guys will use it responsibly in your own worlds. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care, bye for now.